You're listening to the Am I a Man Yet podcast, a conversation about rediscovering modern masculinity. Welcome back to the Am I a Man Yet podcast.
I'm Max.
And I'm Adam.
And we're going to, we wanted to look today at the, I don't want to say the pros and cons, maybe like the messages that are sent via professional sports.
Yeah.
Is that what we decided on?
Yep.
Okay. So, sports are great, and they definitely teach us a lot of lessons, micro lessons. But we also, what else do they teach us, right? Like, what are those other hidden lessons in there that maybe feed into the masculine ideology that we talked about last time? And so we just wanted to dive into that. And to help us do that, our article that inspired this podcast this week is one. It's called A Letter to My Daughter About Young Men by Benjamin Sledge. I found this on Medium. This was done in 2016. So this guy's been thinking about this stuff way longer than we have.
Right.
But it's a great read. It's a 5-minute read. We'll post it too, and it's really good, and it brought up some good points of conversation for us.
Yeah, and this letter is not specific to sports.
Not at all.
Max and I are currently watching the Chiefs game.
True.
This is a halftime segment.
It is,
and our first one ever. But this article though is dealing with just to my daughter. This is what to look for in a man.
Sure. And to build that bridge for y'all, sports, A Letter to My Daughter. So the author is a veteran, and so he was in the military.
Yeah.
And so he talks about in his letter to his daughter about the bond that is created amongst men in the military, and how it offers a unique opportunity for men in today's society to bond in a way that civilian life probably doesn't offer, or at least not so readily. And so it gives him some unique insight. And I think, too, I found it unique because I think it's easy to think of the military as a place where misogyny and sexism reign king, right? And so...
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Well, I think, all of this is really good and sensitive material, and it's like the author uses this word, tribe. Like, he uses the word tribe to kind of talk about his team, his comrades, his community. Like, he uses this word tribe as a way to talk about... I don't know, even the pressures that come with this tribe, or the I don't know, he kind of just uses this language that we're kind of seeing to parallel with, okay, he's talking about his in regards to veterans, like his community, but what if his tribe turns against you in regards to the cultural norms that you feel like you have to abide by? And we're kind of seeing that as the segue as teams,
right?
Sports, and
exactly.
So that's the kind of the tie-in: the tribes, comrades, community, and even in your sports teams too.
Right. So I think, obviously, boys and men aren't gonna, not everybody joins the military and goes through that extreme of situations. But I think the closest thing that for men and boys outside of the military is going to be sports.
Yep.
Is that what you're saying?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Exactly. Dead on. I agree. And that is the bridge. That's the tie for us.
He says some interesting things in the article. It's just kind of like, I don't know this guy. I don't know Benjamin Sledge. I don't know if he has daughters. But maybe he's observing his tribe and saying, man, if they were talking about this... and they have daughters, like, I see a huge disconnect. Like the way that they talk about women, maybe.
Yeah.
And so I don't know this guy's story.
So I
But
think
he brings up some interesting things, though.
super interesting. I think he has one daughter. I think this is a legitimate letter to his daughter.
Okay.
I think he has one daughter. Just because at the bottom of the article,
He does
you
have
see a
picture.
photo with a little baby.
And now that I'm looking at it, he does address it to Adelaide.
Yeah. So I think this is like a real,
Yeah.
in a
legit.
sense. I mean, like,
Yeah.
he really wants her to know these things, but he
Yeah.
also is addressing
Right.
bigger issues.
Mm-hmm.
And he deals a lot with honor, which I think is a good way to do it, because I think, first off, I think men, masculine ideology, a common word I would guess would be, honor. Now the problem with just saying honor is how you define honor.
Mm-hmm.
Is honor pride, right? Because pride can be good, but most often it's probably leads you to not good things. I mean,
Right.
pride is not necessarily a great trait to have.
Yeah.
And so he delves into that a little bit more.
Yeah. He says, look for honor. So, daughter, when you're looking for a man, look for honor. But then the paragraph under that says, look for. I think he kind of expounds on what honor is, because I think honor could be that pride thing, but I think there's also a good pride. So he says, okay, take pride in the way you hold yourself in integrity, selflessness, sacrifice, and compassion. Like someone that holds themselves to that standard. Look for a guy like that. So I do think there is that honor, like, oh, I take pride in this, but also look for someone that takes pride in how they hold themselves and how they are seen in society.
Right. So that sense of pride. So pride not in the sense that like I'm right and I'm not gonna back down, right? Like you have integrity, right? Like have an opinion and believe what you say. Mm-hmm. But when confronted with new information or differences or something, you're okay with moving your stake. Yeah. Right. Like I think that's right. I mean, like that's what integrity entails. Like integrity and pride together, right? Like I'm proud. I'm not gonna just argue with you for argument's sake, right? Like I have integrity. I believe what I'm telling you. Yeah. But if you bring new information to me and you make solid points, and I truly am thinking differently, yeah, you're right. It's okay. Yeah. It's okay for a conversation amongst men to end in, yeah, that's a good point. You're right. I think, yeah, wow, okay, thank you. Yeah. But I think too often that's too hard to do, right? Because again, like, well, if I admit I'm right, that's a weakness or something, right? And so we can't do that. And so I think that's also where a lot of that. I mean, pride is a weird one.
It is, because I think even in my circle of community with church leaders, pride is that one. That's the root of sin. Yeah. No, there should be even an ounce of pride. It's just it's a weird thing. Like, but then maybe we mask it differently with a different word, honor. But I think what he's getting at though is the integrity, selflessness, sacrifice, compassion. But then he says, but above all, something that you point out, Max, seek men that are meek. Right. Seek men that are humble. Which I think could take out that pride altogether. Like, right. Okay, someone that is meek and humble.
But that's the exclamation point in this article, right? Like this article, this letter to his daughter is not that. I mean, it's good. It's really good. That's why we're talking about it. But it's not that good until this line. Yeah. Right. That's when it really like boom.
Well, it means a lot to he and his daughter. His daughter, I'm sure, loves the entire thing. But it's like to us, it's like yada yada yada. Okay, this is
it's the same things over and over. It's a typical letter to your daughter, which I think is fine. I think that works. But this is where it separates. I mean, I think this is where it makes it.
This is new in a way.
It's new. I think this is where it makes it have. I mean, if you look over this side, like I don't know what it means, but there's like little hands clapping. 23,000 of those are clapping. I think it starts with this line. On my computer, it shows that this line is the top highlighted line, and I think that's also shows. And that's, as I read this, I was like, yeah, this is true. This is good stuff. And then it was meekness. And that's that point where I was like, oh, okay, I got to kind of stop reading for a minute. And I got to think about this, because he even addresses it. Like, meekness is typically a word we think of and use to describe weak, or, it's not a desirable thing. If someone called you meek, you're like, excuse me?
Yeah,
like,
meek,
no.
you're quiet, you're not going to hold fast to a cause. You know, you're just like, I don't know. It's not something you really desire to be. But just to read the line out of the article so that you have context, it says, meekness is strength wrapped in humility, my dear daughter. It is strength under control in a world where so many are out of control.
Yeah, I think that really, I think that hits the nail on the head. I think that out of control part is what a lot of men feel, is what the masculine ideology gives us, is this out of control feeling, because we have this disconnect between, just like we just talked about, we have this disconnect between boys don't cry, but I'm crying. Right. I don't want to feel these feelings. These feelings aren't man feelings. Right? Like, whatever it is, fill in those blanks. That's out of control. You're not in control.
Right.
When you can say, I'm sad, I'm crying, or, like, I love this person and I don't know how to make them happy and that makes me sad. Like, when you can say those things, you're in control now.
Right.
Like, but when you're trying to fight them, you're not. And so I think that's what really drove this home and, like, made this a piece worth thinking about. Yeah.
And even the next paragraph down, it drives it home too, because he says, don't confuse velvet words and simply holding a door open as honor. But then he takes it a step further and he says to his daughter, instead, see how he observes how he treats others, and how he treats the waiter, how he treats the homeless and the marginalized. Like, don't just be taken away that he held the door open for you, but rather, how does he treat others?
Right.
I would even take it, like, how does he even treat his own parents?
Right.
How he treats his mom is a good indicator of how he's going to treat you, daughter. Right. I think you could even take it a step further in that, but I think that even more so also just kind of gives it more weight to what he's saying.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it does. Yeah. I mean, like from that point on, like, that whole next paragraph is just is really good. Like, heed this wisdom and do not become disillusioned, for honorable men will still break your heart. Right? Yeah. Like, it's not like you're not going to find, even if you find this person, right? This in control, meek, loves the homeless, marginalized, they still will break your heart, right? Like, because again, like, it's still human. Yeah, they have emotions, they have whatever. But then he does break it down, like how they will do it, and you guys can go read it for yourselves. But I think it does it puts something that is so hard to put into words. Like, it gives us really good examples of what it looks like. Yeah. And not just, like, stereotypically, but, like, the deeper underlying reasons of why those are good things. Yeah. Right? Like, why is it good to break up with someone face to face? Right? Because as opposed to over text or something, because that's what the article goes into, and it says, like, I feel like, I know that's the right thing to do, but I don't necessarily know why. Oh, well, because that is, it's the hard thing to do. Right? It's harder to do it, but I owe you that, or whatever.
But I think another good thing about this article is that he even says to his daughter, don't hate these guys that treat you this way. Because honestly, like, seriously, he handles it with such grace, first off. Like, they don't know any better right now. Because I think he knows about the narrative. He's also, too, been ingrained. Don't hate these guys because they act this way. Okay?
That's a good point. I didn't think about
Confront them with compassion about it. So you are going to encounter males that are counter to what I'm talking about. Give them some grace. Yeah. We're all learning our lines and what it means to be a man. Right. And he says, many grew up without a male figure to explain what honor and integrity look like.
Yeah. Well, and maybe they grew up with a male figure. Yeah. But did that male figure grow up with somebody?
Mm-hmm.
Right. And again, he puts that caveat in there that taught them.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, that's kind of like key point. But I mean, even if like what is being taught, and again, we talked about that. We've talked about that before. Like, I think it's so easy to unconsciously teach. Period. It's so easy to unconsciously teach kids things.
Yeah. I think the exclamation point to teaching, he says this at the very last line of the second to last paragraph. He says, feel compassion for them instead, but then he says, point them to other men you see acting in honorable ways. So, like, not putting all the pressure on the men, even though I want you to find the right man. But also point the man that you're wanting to be the right man, point that guy to the honorable.
Right.
You know?
For sure. Yeah.
Find that honorable and point others to the honorable. Because there is a right way to do it.
Right.
You know? And oftentimes I think our culture says, high school life, make mistakes, live do what you want to, there's those high school expectations. Oh, you need to do this at least once, just try it. But I think often our culture is very counter to, you can actually get it right the first time. And the way you can do it is by living an honorable life.
Yeah.
And he's kind of pointing his daughter in that direction, saying, you know what, point other men that you see in your life. Because you can reach them that I can't.
Sure. Oh, yeah. Yeah, for sure. 100%.
So, yeah.
Yeah. And now, as I'm thinking about this and I'm listening to us, I'm like, I have no idea what this has to do with sports teams.
It doesn't. I don't know. I don't know.
As we were watching the game, this article jumped in my head, and so I think in the beginning of this episode we try to make some connection. But I think this is a really flimsy bridge. I think this is a great article.
Yeah.
I think this is a really flimsy bridge to sports teams. Other than that, men. A big part of the article in the beginning, before we hit that awesome line, was that because what made me think of it too is that we've talked about community so much, and men don't have men to talk to and be vulnerable with, and we can't expect our spouses to be everything for us, and they can't expect us to be everything for them, and so at the beginning of this article he kind of drives that point home, which made me think of teams as we were watching teams, but we got way off of that. I think what we got on was really good.
I think we nailed on what was important in the
article. I think we did, and I think we've hit on that other stuff before about community. And men need community, and they need a community that is deeper than weather and sports. And that's what he talks about in that. When you're holding a dying man, the weather doesn't really matter.
Yeah,
when you're risking your life to get more ammunition to your fellow soldiers, you're not really worried about your sports team in that moment.
Yeah.
And so he talks about that, and and we've hit on that before too. So this. Where we ended up, I think, is very good. But I was just like, man, we
did.
We stretched it.
It's our podcast. We can do what we want. Yes. But we're going to post the article, seriously, and I'm not just saying this to say it. You need to read this article, because before the part where he talks about living an honorable life, there's so much here that is... you can resonate with, I can resonate with. But it's also man, you need to see where this guy's coming from, though, the context of what he's saying to his daughter.
Yeah, and check out his other stuff too. He's got a lot of Medium is. I think what Medium is a place you put your blog posts for other people to kind of discover. So he has a lot of different writings. I've read a couple of his different ones, and he's just a really good writer, so it's easy to read. But B, he brings up a lot of great points in his writing. So yeah, definitely check him out. I don't know. We can figure out links and all that stuff in show notes, but... Yep,
we'll take care of it. So
that's good.
Anyway, I think we're late for the Chiefs game.
Oh no. Gotta go.
Chiefs.
Bye.
Thanks for joining us on this episode of Am I a Man Yet? You can follow us on social media at Am I a Man Yet? And you can even email us at amiamanyet@gmail.com. Also, don't forget to share this with your friends, rate us on iTunes. That helps us out a ton. So thank you so much for joining us, and we'll catch you next time.